While she's reading, please imagine that she's flanked by shark dancers. Let's bring her up here, Rachel Wilkinson.
I wanted to read something funny, and it's just not going to happen. So I'm reading just the piece that I've worked on most recently, which part of you have read versions of, except for Caleb, who's read the whole thing, so sorry. But it's about my hair. While riding my university shuttle, I used to stare at women's hair. They were mostly young white women like me who would sit in rows facing each other at the front of the bus, compulsively checking their phones. I would ride to campus in the afternoons and just gaze, marveling at how well coiffed they were, all of them with the same long, straightened, voluminous hair, the hair that sets the standard for all other hair. The rows of hair would be so perfect and shiny and smooth, not a single hair out of place, no flyaway or split ends, that I could stare into them as if they were one luminous mass, like volcanic glass. I come from a line of perfect women. I remember my mother telling me more than once that the only thing that matters is that I be an intelligent, educated woman. I was squandering my potential if I was anything less, and that would be a shame, she said. As a little girl, I remember watching her at her vanity doing her hair. She would take an impossibly long time to get ready each morning, daubing on makeup out of shiny containers, plucking earrings off her jewelry stand, and curling her hair. As a young mother in the 90s, she had a chin-length bob and bangs that she styled precisely with a curling brush. That prickly curling brush, which looked to me like a plant out of a Dr. Seuss book, was always at the end of the routine. So hair, to me, is the crowning glory. It's the last thing that you fix and put into place before you walk out the door, the thing that signifies that you're really together. My mother has never shown up underprepared in her life. At least, I've never seen her do it. She's a doctorate-holding professor, an only child, the first in her family to go to college. When I think of her as a mother, I picture the perfect calendar she kept for my brother and me as children, the times of our gymnastics classes and choir practices and basketball games, all penned neatly into the squares, with the dentist and doctor's appointment cards taped on the columns down the sides. I've never seen her be late to anything, miss an appointment, say or do anything inappropriate or out of turn. She is an unbroken line of scheduling and doing and achieving. She is always perfectly dressed, cordial, and well-spoken. Her mother was the same way. She was the Chicago-born daughter of Hungarian immigrants who became the consummate housewife, Christian, American. There are colorized glamour shots of my grandmother's young woman in the 1930s wearing finger curls like a movie star. She had her hair curled at a salon every week until she died, even when she was in assisted living. At her funeral, my aunt told a story about the way she used to shoo her dogs away with a simple hand wave and, "No, no." Always polite, sophisticated, a real lady, my aunt said. I've never known how to live up to my maternal line, though I've burned up a lot of energy trying. Womanhood to me is the feeling of always striving even when there is no end point. I learned early on that to be a good woman, a strong woman, it means scheduling, doing, achieving. You execute this series flawlessly and without any complaints. You survive in this world by showing up pretty and prepared and perfect, and hopefully more articulate than anyone else in the room, and with done hair. These days, I spend about 45 minutes tending to my hair per day, washing it, drying it, straightening it. There are many steps, and I'm finicky about all of them. They involve all kinds of equipment, like a 410-degree ceramic straightener, and Bumble & Bubble styling balm, which is only affordable when purchased secondhand in 5-ounce bottles off Amazon. I've spent time researching the benefits of ionic hair dryers and the best techniques for blow-drying hair without frying it, which involve doubling over and sometimes giving myself a head rush just to get to the under layers first. It wasn't always like this. I used to be less prepared. I'd show up at places with wet, uncombed hair. But I've developed my process over time, always trying for fairy tale hair. It feels as if at every turn a new product or step has appeared, offering a solution to some hair problem: thickness, dryness, dullness, frizz, flyaway, hair that's straight but not quite straight enough. Of course, the beauty industry is designed this way. There's a solution, a product, a technology for every problem. And everyone knows the great Western truth, the one that goes all the way back to the Greeks, that the beautiful and the good are the same. Physical perfection is spiritual perfection. For Greeks, beauty was how you approach the divine. This is why good girls are always perfect princesses. Each time I add a new hair product, I can't go back. It's forever folded into my perfectionistic routine. And I think, what woman could go back, knowing that these products exist, knowing how to do these things, and that she's that much closer to the ideal? The campus shuttle stop was literally right in front of my house, so I would time my routine such that I could stumble out the door and down the street, often hairbrush and granola bar and phone and keys still in hand, with exactly 30 seconds to spare. I would race out flushed, hair straightened and done, get on the bus and take my place in a line of perfect women with shining hair. Sitting there, I felt both a deep guilt at knowing that I am shallow, a feminist failure, but also as if I'd finally succeeded, fulfilling some feminine promise of all the women before me, one that none of us can articulate or even remember making. And I wonder what I will get for holding up my end of the bargain. I believe I had a feminist childhood. I had the kind of upbringing where my mother gave me a book of 100 women who changed the world at age 9, sent me in middle school where we discussed the misogyny of The Little Mermaid. True story. For my mother, these were lessons. Intelligence was the thing that would allow everything in my life to fall into place. She cultivated me to be the perfect millennial daughter, existing in a meritocratic world where looks didn't matter so much because I could be anything I wanted if I were just smart enough. Like all parents, she contains contradictions. Part of me loves her for telling such an exquisite lie. Not even a lie as much as what she'd hoped would be true for me. A parental lie. I think about how much I've tried to let this shield me, to let it protect me from uncomfortable feelings, but it's never enough. I lived with 2 guy friends for years after college, always sharing a bathroom with at least one of them. My friend Matthew, who I shared a bathroom with the longest, was constantly annoyed by my hair everywhere. There would be gobs of it in our shower, and because of its thickness, I would walk around shedding strands of it. Humans are so gross, Matthew and I would reflect, continually losing dead cells and just leaving them everywhere. Matthew says it's like that old Cylon in Battlestar Galactica, complaining about the Cylons having to transition from robotic to human form. The transition meant sacrificing physical perfection. It seems like a typical human-robot trope. Agent Smith says something similar in The Matrix, lamenting humanity and its weakness of flesh. My head of hair is a perpetually living and dying thing, inconstant, uncontrollable, inescapably corporeal. It's a promise that I am always a body, despite how hard I might wish to just be a mind.
You're good.
I'm good. Oh. I'll do one more part. 5 years ago, I went on a date with a guy who asked me out after I beat him at online Scrabble. Offline things were not going especially well for us. He was arrogant and told me he had descended from French royalty, which seemed so dumb and obvious a lie that I considered if it could be true. Toward the end of our date, I found myself in the middle of a lecture about how, while communism was a great idea in theory, no one had really considered how terrible it would be in practice. I had long, straight, unlayered hair then. It went halfway down my back and I would wear it down, parted in the middle. I was getting bored and started making fun of him, retorting that it was weird how Capital could have 3 800-page volumes, yet Marx never makes any practical considerations the entire time. You know why it wouldn't work, he said? Because there'd be no incentive to make anything, so there wouldn't be enough shampoo for your beautiful hair. And I am so stunned and flattered and angry and ashamed that the argument stops.